Hi, I'm Rachael Penney doing our SLP 212 Expressive Language lesson plan. For this lesson plan, I was gearing it towards second and third graders. My objective is going to be the students will play an opposites game to practice using correct grammar. The project in detail, this game activity that I came up with is designed to help children with their expressive language skills. And this game can be played with 2 to 6 players. If it's a one-on-one session, I would be the second player playing with the child. How I would implement this activity, first I would go over a whole group or with the children what opposites are, making sure each child remembers their opposites and giving examples. I'd have each child give examples of what an opposite is, either on the board or they would have whiteboards in front of them and we would do it together. After we did that, I would have this game board laid out in front of the children in front of us, or in front of me. And each child would choose their game piece, which here I have examples of some game pieces. These are just Legos, but you can really use anything for your game pieces. You could use beans or teddy bears or whatever you have in the classroom. So each child would choose their own game piece and put them on the rocket ship. And that's where we would start. And then I would, on each one of these planets, I would have these chips, or you could use any type of chips, and you put 20 of them on each of the planets, so there's 20 chips on each planet. And then I would read a sentence to them. So for example, my first sentence might be, my first sentence might be, please open the door. Open. And so then the child would have to come up with what is the opposite of open. So the first child would raise their hand and say closed. And I would say, okay, good. Closed is the opposite of open. Now use it in a sentence. And they might say, I closed the door, or please close the curtain, or whatever is acceptable for using that word. If the child didn't get the correct opposite word, then we would just continue until the next child got it. If he got it right, then he would take his marker and he would blast off to one of his planets, whichever planet he wanted, and then he would roll a dice, and whatever number he got on the dice, he would take that many chips from the planet. So if he got a 3, he would take 3 chips. Then it would be the next turn. So the next turn, then I would read another sentence. And I might say, please turn on the lights. What is the opposite of the word on? And whoever raised their hand and said off, and then they would have to use off in a sentence. And then they would go to the next planet. And we would keep going until time ran out, or if all the chips are gone. Once all the chips are gone, the game is over, and each child would count how many chips they had, and the one with the most would win. If they are not getting it right, obviously I would be modeling it for them and helping them, praising them when they got it right, helping them along as we went, as we played the game. So for children who, an example of how I would introduce the game, I would tell them that we're going to play a game together to practice our opposites in our speaking. I would ask them if they remember what an opposite is. We would do the examples like I had said before. For children who are struggling, I would probably just cut out the opposites part, and I would give them a vocabulary word and they could give me the definition. Or I would just, if they're really low, I could just give them a word and they would have to just use it in a sentence correctly, depending on their level. And then for an extension to make the game harder or more difficult, I would have the child use both the word I gave them and the opposite words in a sentence, so they'd be using 2 sentences. And yes, so they would be using 2 sentences. And then as a closure, I would just go over why we did this and why we played this game. Thank you.